Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Inspiringly Different in English again. My guest today is Max Hindle. Max is hypnotherapist. So we talk a lot about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, how you can solve your biggest fears and overcome your biggest fears. And we break with some of the stigmas that are connected with hypnosis. So what we learned in many action movies, what is possible and what absolutely isn't possible with hypnosis, and much more. Max is born and raised in the UK, living in Mexico right now, and went through a really, really hard time in his life with a lot of drugs until he made a complete turnaround. All thanks to spirituality and hypnosis and just getting his shit together. So please welcome Max Hindle and enjoy this episode. Follow my pendulum with your eyes. You get tired, your eyes get heavier and heavier, your eyes fall, and you only listen to my voice, and now you are all mine. I can do whatever I like with you. And with that, a warm welcome to another episode of Inspiringly Different, Inspirantes. My name is Luca, and with me together, the lovely Max. Hi, Max. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm happy to be alive, and now I'm under your hypnotic spell.
As you just mentioned, it's about hypnotics today because that's a big area of what you're doing, right?
Yeah. My main work is hypnosis. Even with my new project, where I'm working with someone who I've connected with recently, he works with the body, I work with the mind. My side of the business is still hypnosis. And it's really about tapping into the subconscious and overcoming what was or what has been in the past so that you can create a whole new future effectively.
So we are not talking about the stuff I just made up at the beginning. It's not like you get people to follow your pendulum, fall asleep, and then you wake them up.
So I use inverted commas for sleep because it's not sleep. Hypnosis isn't sleep. That's a common misconception a lot of people have with hypnosis.
Yeah.
Hypnosis is just a state of mind. So if anyone watches my YouTube videos, you can see that I've done hypnosis with people and they're like this, and they're listening to me. They're like this, and they're listening to me, or they're like this. So hypnosis isn't sleep at all. Hypnosis is just a state of mind that every single person goes into at least twice a day. And usually more, actually. A few examples are, so when you wake up in the morning, you're going from a delta brainwave, which is a sleep brainwave, to a theta brainwave, to an alpha brainwave, to a beta brainwave. From delta to theta to alpha and theta are sort of those hypnosis brainwaves. And in those states of mind, you just become very suggestible. And the greatest way I can explain it is my sister once fell asleep. And have you ever done this to someone while they're asleep and you've spoken to them while they sleep talk? Have you ever done that before?
No.
So it's hilarious. I love doing it. I've done it like with my ex-girlfriends when they're sleeping, like they start like sleep talking and I'll just talk back and you can have a conversation with them.
Really? Like when someone's falling asleep, you can chat and you can have a talk with them.
Even when they are asleep, like they sort of, their brainwave kind of wakes up enough, but not enough for them to be consciously aware. So I did this with my sister. It's a funny story. It was around Christmas time, and she fell asleep, and she was laying on the floor, and she has a cat called Titus, and she goes, she looks up and goes, "Oh my God, we got to get Titus out of prison." And I was like, and my stepbrother looked at me, and I was like, "But yeah, we have. He's a nightmare though. He's stuck in prison. We've got to get him out." I don't know what we're gonna do. I was like, "Who knows?" I was like, "Maybe we're gonna have to crash in and like crash open the side and like break in and break him out." She's like, "Yeah, I think so." and she didn't remember the conversation. And I think I filmed it. I don't know where the video is though, but
Oh, wow.
the mind is always on, effectively. Even when you're actually sleeping, the mind is always on. Like, that's why you can cough, you can breathe, you can sleep talk, all these type of things. Like I said, hypnosis is just guiding you to that state of mind where you're not quite asleep, but you're not fully awake, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes absolutely sense. That puts it in a picture where even I can understand it, kind of. And it's funny that, and it makes so much sense because what we all know is when you, for example, when you go to a friend's house or you sleep at a new place, your sleep will be much lighter at the first night, and then you get comfortable the second night, and so on, and you get more comfortable with time. And I think that's also kind of because your brain is awake. It knows, okay, this is not a familiar space where I'm sleeping today. I have to be extra aware of dangers.
Right.
Yeah? And that makes so much sense that you, in such a state, can talk to someone, and when you reach this in-between level between these brainwaves, I don't know, alpha and theta, alpha, beta,
Yeah,
theta.
alpha and theta. So some people say hypnosis is alpha, some people say it's theta. So it's a brainwave between alpha and theta when your mind is at a certain amount of the frequency just being hertz. When the mind is at a certain amount of hertz, you're in that hypnotic trance-like state, effectively. So like I said, you don't have to be induced by a hypnotist to go into hypnosis. A hypnotist or hypnotherapist just puts you there quicker. And it's like more of a direct focus rather than accidentally going there around those lines.
So if I would be devil's advocate, I would say you make people fall asleep. Closely. Nearly. I'm just kidding, Max.
Well, no, the interesting thing is I've actually hypnotized. So I've hypnotized a lot of people. 2 people have actually fallen asleep on me before. And,
Okay.
So one person was in person and the other one was online. And when they fell asleep, I was like, so out of all the people that I've hypnotized, I mean, two people. So what's that? It's a percentage, a tiny percent of people that I've hypnotized that have actually fallen asleep. But a lot of people go, oh, I might get stuck in hypnosis. And I'm like, well, no, you can't. The worst case scenario is you just fall asleep and wake back up. Go on.
Yeah, that would be a question of me, because when you do a hypnosis online and the other person gets caught or your internet connection breaks and he's like there hypnotized, you have no way of reaching them in the worst case scenario. It's like, okay, well, see ya.
Yeah. So like I said, worst case scenario. So anyone that has heard of hypnosis and seen like stage hypnosis, it's like, and sleep, and these people like pass out.
Yeah.
They're not asleep. They're not asleep at all. They can hear you. You can hear everything I say when you're in hypnosis. Everyone can.
Yeah.
But some people get to a point where they're so relaxed. So I tend not to do it while people are laying down. I get them not to lay down, because when they lay down, they get so relaxed and they can fall asleep.
Relaxed.
Exactly. And if someone's not had much sleep, they can fall asleep much easier. So there's just like little precautions you can take. But like I said, what is the worst case scenario? You fall asleep and you wake back up.
Yeah. Doesn't sound too bad for me.
Exactly. I mean, it's nothing to be scared of. A lot of people see in the movies where it looks like such a crazy thing. And it's Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? Hollywood make hypnosis seem this magical control. And it's like, to a level I can suggest, but I've got no real mind control. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just helping you open up your mind, and your mind is actually starting to take control of your life, if that makes sense. That's sort of my goal with hypnosis.
Yeah. But is it absolutely impossible to hypnotize somebody and put something in his mind? Because that's also something we learned from Hollywood, that you get hypnotized and he puts something in your mind, or the hypnotherapist erases something from your mind. You can't actually, they wake up and they don't know anything. Like, who am I? I'm an ape, or whatever ridiculous example. Like, I'm an ape and I'm scratching and you know,
So
that's made up. That's not possible.
Short answer, it can be possible.
God damn it, Max.
For example, if someone wanted to, like there's been cases where people have said like they were under hypnosis, like the killing of JFK, they reckon that the guy was under hypnosis. Now that's not just hypnosis, that's like brainwashing, not just
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Part of, like, see it that way, part of a whole, a section of it will be hypnosis, the rest of it will be, there's brainwashing, there's subliminal programming, there's so much to it. So that's what a lot of people associate hypnosis with, but what they may not associate hypnosis with is the healing aspect of it. So effectively, I've actually had people say, can we remove a memory? And I'm like, but although you can, I don't do it, because I believe that everything we've been through, every memory we've had, can serve us in some sort of way. For example, everything is neutral. There's nothing good or bad about anything. For example, this hair clip is neutral. It's not good or bad. I can put my hair up, good. I could go like that and stab someone in the eye, bad. The hair clip itself is neutral. Water, as an example. Water is not good or bad. You can use water to drown someone. You can use water to hydrate yourself. So there's a good and a bad of everything. How we choose to perceive it is what we're going to get from it. So for me, I like to use hypnosis in a way that if someone has a problem, to learn a lesson from the problem so that they can change using the problem. Like, I used to be a very shy, unconfident, scared, worried, anxious person. Now I use that past as my biggest strength today, to say, if I could have got you to that place years ago, or I could have got myself to that place from being like this, can I also do that for you? And the answer is yes. It's very easy. It's very simple. It just takes the work. Just like turning up to the gym, you sometimes need a personal trainer. They just show you how to do it properly. And then once you get in the rhythm of doing it, my goal isn't to keep people on for years and years. My goal is to give you the tools so that you can walk away with everything that you need.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I mean, it only makes sense to give everybody the tools, because at the end you have to do the heavy lifting on your own.
Exactly.
You can hire a coach or a therapist, whatever. You have to do the heavy lifting on your own. If somebody else is lifting the weights for you, you will probably not gain any muscles.
Well, not even probably, you just won't.
Yeah, you just won't. True.
Like period, full stop, you won't.
Yeah, and it's I like what you're saying, because it took a little bit of I was concerned that hypnosis is this kind of, you can just trick people into doing anything you want, but it's not. And what you're talking about, also not deleting anything from a memory of a person. I remembered this one book I read, the 4 Agreements, or the 5th Agreement.
Great book. I love that
like
book.
the Toltec wisdom, where you also say a word is, or a thing is just a thing. It's you give meaning to it. You make it bad, you make it good, you make it holy, you make it the devil, whatever. But you give a meaning to it, and we all agree that the thing I see is a house, and we all agree, okay, that's a house. And that's why I like also the not erasing thing, because we learn from our mistakes. And
big time.
we tend to learn more from our mistakes than from our successes, I guess. Or
100%. 100%. Well, I actually had a dream the other night, and I made a video about this on Instagram. And I said, in my dream, it was such a vivid dream. And bearing in mind, I hate the cold. My dream was in a field in the snow. And all of a sudden, I just started to climb over one of these fences, and I was standing in the snow just looking at everything. And I was thinking to myself, the thought was like so clear, it was like right in my mind. And I just thought to myself, if we never failed, I can't remember word for word what I said, but it was, if we never failed and we only ever had ease in life, we'd never have great stories to tell. And great people have great stories to tell. You know what I mean? Like there's not one truly inspiring. Take Tony Robbins as an example. He's got great stories to tell because he's been through a lot. And those stories motivate other people to make changes in their life. So I'm a big believer in going through struggles. It doesn't mean you have to go through it alone, but I'm a big believer in not trying to avoid all struggles and sort of recluse from life, because then you're never going to grow. The way you grow in the gym is you do the reps. Like you said, it makes sense to get a personal trainer if you've never gone to the gym before, because they're going to show you what to do and they're going to help you train perfectly. So then when you start to do it on your own, you're already a step ahead of the curve. And that's effectively my job. I'm putting people on their healing journey and I'm giving them a step ahead of the curve, because I never had a hypnotherapist when I first got into the healing journey. So there's a lot of things that I would have done wrong. But now I know what to do. Now I know how to do it. I can give you the tools, but it still takes those little failures. Like, for example, I had one lady that I was working with, and she was like anxious every single day of her life. And then one day she messaged me. She was like, Max, I had anxiety today. She was like, I feel like I'm going back. And I was like, well, how do you feel now? She's like, I feel okay now. I'm like, so you're telling me that you had one outburst of anxiety and now you've changed? I was like, you don't realize how much you've shifted in this short period of time. And we don't see it because it's us. Do you know what I mean? We don't see, like, I've not noticed my hair grow like out. Do you know what I mean? Because I see it every day. Whereas someone who hasn't seen me for a very long time says, oh, Max, you've changed your hair. Yeah. It's just because we see the change every day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also going back to, you have to go through some struggles in your life to become or to achieve real greatness. I also just imagine a life without any problems. How fucking boring. How fucking boring would that be? I mean, if you could snap your fingers and all problems would disappear.
But I always do say this, like, initially, it would be great. Initially, for the first maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe the first year, life would be great. But then life would be so boring because everyone would be at the same level. Everyone would be succeeding. There would be no value in anything.
Yeah. And also it's impossible to imagine a life without problems, because I think the human is made to invent his problems. I mean, just look where we came from Stone Age, where you had to fight every day to survive, to it's comfortable. You don't have to do even 100 steps a day to survive. It's possible. It's absolutely possible.
Online, can't you now?
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely possible. And nevertheless, we have a lot of problems. I think the amount of problems doesn't decrease or increase. It's always the same amount of problems, just the severity of it changes from time to time and with the times. And I also am a big fan of what you are doing now, or what you did with the meditation challenge, that you say like 30 days meditation challenge. Wow, that was hard. 1 minute more a day. Yeah. I'm a big fan of this, to challenge yourself, because we don't face that many challenges in our life anymore, like these big challenges. And as we just said, you grow from the challenges. You grow when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Well, it's like with meditation, there's some days where I don't want to meditate, can't be bothered, but I do it anyway. And I feel like that itself is the progress. Like, when I first started going to the gym, now I enjoy the gym. I really enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy the pain of pushing my muscles to the limit. But initially I didn't. Initially I had to get into the habit of it. And it's one of those things that if you push yourself, you will grow. I always use the gym as an analogy because it's just...
Yeah, it's the best to understand it.
You can see it. You can see the physical growth. You can't really see mental growth. You can only sense mental growth in someone when you have a conversation with them. And you can go, for example, if you would have met me 5 years ago, the conversation would have been cocaine, drugs, drink. Like, it would have been totally different to what it is today. And obviously we wouldn't be on this podcast today if I didn't change, because I would have been a different person. And you wouldn't have wanted to, you wouldn't have wanted to have me talk to your audience. Like, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Also, I'm going back to that, to just finish it off, that you don't see your own growth oftentimes. It's like, for me, it's the thing with getting out of bed early. Just push through for a month. And then the times where you really have to convince yourself to get out of the damn bed, they decrease. It's like at the start, it's 30 days a month. Then the next month, it's 25 days a month where you have to really fight. And at the end of the year, it's like 10 days. Yeah. But for you, it feels always like, oh man, I struggled again to get out of bed today. I'm not making any progress. But to your girlfriend, maybe she's like, what are you talking about? A year ago, you woke up at 9. Now you wake up at 6 and go out of your bed most of the days. Like, what are you talking about?
crazy,
it's
right?
always good to have a outsider's perspective on your behavior, and that's why it's
100%.
recommendable to have a coach or someone in your life to talk to.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and also, for example, my friend the other day, she came back from Canada to Mexico, and she brought me a gratitude journal. It was like one of her gratitude
Ah,
journals, and I've just been
awesome.
writing in the mornings, just what I'm grateful for. Like today, I'm grateful for, and and when you actually get to writing, you realize, huh, yeah, I have got a roof over my head. I have got food in my fridge. I have got friends and family who love me. It's like, obviously, I'm also grateful for all these great things that are in my life, but I'm also so grateful for the little things. And when you think about it, I feel like people in general, myself included, don't think about this stuff enough. So I've committed myself to every morning, just before I start work, is just write a page of just things I'm grateful for. And ever since I've started doing it, I've noticed the change. It's such a simple little thing that's completely free
Yeah,
for anyone to do. You can
yeah,
really realize, and you may not even have many things to be grateful for. Do you know what I mean? At the start, you may not have many things, but you have something. If you've got the ability to sit and write a gratitude list, if you've got a job, if you haven't got the time because you've got a job, you should be grateful that you've got the job. You
yeah,
should be grateful that you've got people that you enjoy spending time with. You should be grateful that you're in health, right? You've got health right now. Like really, the little things. When we start to be grateful for that, if the first thing you're thinking about when you wake up in the morning is things that you're grateful for, just notice the difference in your day. It's going to change.
yeah. It's like picking up the phone with and smiling before you pick up.
Yes,
It totally
before you
changes
jump
the
on the
mood
call,
of the conversation. Yeah, before you
100%.
pick up the call, it's like getting a smile on your face and then, "Hi, this is Luca," and it's totally changing. It's not, "Yeah, hi." It's, "Hi." You're speaking with a laugh in your voice,
Your
and it's
energy's better.
changing the whole attitude for the call. And waking up and being grateful for the things you have, the things you take for granted, and now
Exactly.
recognize that you can be grateful for them or you should be grateful for them, changes
That's
the
it.
whole mood and the whole tone for the day. I'm absolutely 100% behind it. Also, a nice thing for journaling is you see the progress. If you do it
Mm,
for a few years, just do this fun exercise. Pull out one of your journals from a few years ago and like pick a random page and read through it, and then see how much progress you made.
it's so true. It's so true. I remember I found ages ago in my house in the UK, I found a sheet of paper that I folded in half and made into like a little booklet. And I
Ah,
was literally writing down. So I remember writing down, buy the book Think and Grow Rich, what the conscious and the subconscious mind is, and what discipline is. Like I wrote those three things down, and I wrote some affirmations, and then that's where I started my 30 days of meditation. Ever since that day, I've never stopped. That's why I made a 30-day challenge, because when I did 30 days of meditation, I never stopped after that. I just continued every day
oh
for the
wow,
rest
awesome.
of the time. So, like, bearing in mind, there's probably been, without a doubt, been a handful of days over the last 5 years that I haven't meditated, but I've also made up for that in other days where I've done like 3 meditations. Do you know what I mean? So, like
Yeah,
today, I've done 2 meditations so far, and I'll probably do another one tonight. Like, and
yeah,
they're not
awesome.
like ridiculously long. The first one was maybe 20 minutes, then 10 minutes, and then later tonight I'll probably do 20 minutes again. So it doesn't have to be like hours and hours and hours. But there have been times in my life where I have meditated for like three hours in a day or something like that, like as a total. But you don't need to jump in like that straight away.
Yeah, Max, what happened to you that you said I have to change from taking drugs and going to party all day to meditate every day?
I actually had this conversation with my business partner. We did a podcast the other day and we were chatting about this, and I said it was a whole story of what happened. I was basically it was a night where it was just so drug fueled that it just completely ruined me. And I watched one of my friends at the time literally acquire anxiety in an instant as of that day.
Okay.
Literally in that moment, I was watching him and he was getting so anxious. And then as of that day, he just continued to have anxiety. I was at my friend's dad's house and there was a bunch of us and we were taking cocaine, ecstasy, MDMA, alcohol, weed. Like we were really on everything. And we were up until maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. And then at 4 or 5 o'clock, I was still very high. And I drove my car to go and buy more drugs. Bearing in
With
mind, it
all
was
the
like in this.
stuff in you.
Yeah. I was really high.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? like super dangerous. Like I could have killed someone or myself. It could have happened. And I'm so blessed that nothing bad did happen. But I remember when I got back, we then stayed up until maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Then I drove home still high and went to bed, and it was a beautiful day outside. My mum came in and said, Max, do you want to come to a barbecue? And I was like, no, I'm really tired. And I was facing the wall. So she's behind me, imagine. I'm like, no, I'm really tired. And I'm literally sitting there like this. Like could not sleep. Like my eyes are going around the room. I can't sleep. My mind is just like this. And I'm literally shivering and shaking in bed because I was so high. And this was about 30 days of drugs virtually every single day. So this was like when it got to its worst. And I remember laying there, and I remember my mum walking out the room, and then me just thinking to myself, I am such a loser. What am I doing with my life? I haven't eaten for a couple of days. I am laying in bed at 11 o'clock in the morning. I still haven't slept. I was like, I'm super, super skinny and like scrawny and like just felt horrible. And I just thought about it. I was like, what am I doing in my life? And then that was the day that I sort of decided I need to stop. And then the nail in the coffin, the last sort of thing, was when my dad beat up my mum. And that was like, I looked at him and I was like, I'm following his footsteps. I'm in the same industry and work. I take drugs. He takes drugs. I drink. He drinks. I smoke. He smokes. I was down the whole same thing. So then I looked at that and went, I need to do the total opposite. And I didn't do everything immediately, if I'm honest. It took me a bit of time, and I slowly started coming off the drugs, and it went from every day to once a week or twice a week, from twice a week to once every few weeks to once a month to just never. And yeah, it progressively happened over time. But all that stuff that happened, it was one of the best things that ever could have happened. And I'm such a big believer. And that's why when I speak to people, I'm like, your past, there's a message in it somewhere. There's something in that can serve you in some sort of way. And all of that happening put me here today.
Yeah. Incredible, Max. I mean, it must have been so hard for you the first months, the first years, especially the first weeks, maybe the first days. Only when I think about telling your friends, no, I'm not consuming today. Like,
it wasn't even that. It was actually because like I don't speak to any of my old friends anymore. And because so when I started coming off the drugs, I got really bad anxiety and depression. And I would basically just not speak to people. So like they'd be like, oh, do you want to come out? And I'd be like, no, I don't want to come. I don't want to come out. No, I can't be bothered. I've got no money. I don't want to. And it just got to the point where they just knew that my answer would be no. So I just refused to go out. And then I just slowly stopped seeing them, and I just became a bit of a recluse and didn't really see anyone. But that's what I needed. I needed a lot of time on my own. Like I didn't really date people, or I didn't really date women for a while. I didn't really see people. I didn't do anything. I was just focused on my healing journey, which was very necessary because, like I say right now, I love myself like too much, maybe too much. There's never too much, but to the point where when someone says like, who do you love? Like myself is in that top 3. Do you know what I mean? Like myself is top 1.
It should be. I mean,
should always be. I remember when I heard someone say that, they were like, who do you love? And they're like, you didn't even say yourself. I'm like, so many people don't.
Yeah, and it's making me sad because you are the most important person in your life. You should be.
100%.
You should be. And also the things with the whole Corona thing going on the last years, it's like people recognized that when they were alone at home and had to spend time with their self, they recognized, God damn it, I'm such a not interesting person. What is going on? What am I doing with my life? I can't even spend time with myself. I should be the most interesting person I know. Because you will spend the rest of your life with yourself.
Yeah.
So make sure you're a damn interesting person that lives a damn interesting life and not a boring one. And that's going in the same direction with self-love. Like, you should love yourself. You should be proud of that.
It's like, you've got through every sort of struggle so far. Do you know what I mean? You've actually got the
So
percentage.
far, you survived every bad day in your life.
You've got a good percentage. Do you know what I mean? I've not even turned up to the gym 100% of the time, but I've survived every struggle.
Yeah.
I've survived 100% of every struggle in my life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're not going to have struggles. Your struggles just slowly become easier. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got struggles here in Mexico, but I've also got many blessings here in Mexico. I've got loads of people around me. I absolutely love the area I live in. I live in a nice little flat. Like, I'm really in such a good place. But then there's also some other things where it's like, my business wasn't going the way I wanted it to go. So I had to sell my car in order to survive. So there's like, there's things that we still have to do in order to survive. And then through those every time you survive, eventually there will be a day that you start to thrive. I truly believe.
Yeah.
And the only way you get there is through getting enough survival days and and not giving up.
Yeah, not giving up is important. It's a big one. Why do you think? Why do you think this is, Max? Do you have a clue why people are not loving themselves or not putting themselves in the top 5 of people they love?
I mean, it's very simple. It's they don't do it. They don't practice it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can say I speak Spanish. I'm not the greatest at Spanish, if I'm honest, but I practice it every day. Whenever I speak to people, I practice. I learn new words. I add them to my vocabulary. Self-love is just a language. Just like happiness is a language. Just like confidence is a language. Every single thing, the way that I see it, is a language. I could learn German if I wanted to.
Oh, it would be a hard time for you.
It'd be a very hard time. And I know that. Like, learning Spanish for me, I'm 6-7 months into learning Spanish. I can have a conversation. I can get my way to a basic conversation. But then when it starts to get to more like deeper topics, I stop here. And there's only so many words that I just don't know any more words. And there's some things in Spanish specifically, being one of those languages that you can transfer language over. For example, meditation in Spanish is meditación. Information is información. Like, there's things that you can, like, telephone is telefono. Like, there's words that you can just know just because you already speak a Latin-based language like English. So there's things that make it a little bit easier. So you already know the words for self-love. You know the word I love myself or I love you. You know that word. It's just about training that into your day. So people that want to learn it can learn it. Anyone can learn it. But the reason some people don't is they don't practice it. If you're not practicing how to drive a car, you're not going to pass a driving test.
True.
It's really simple. It's just the basic things that you could practice. And think about it this way, even with driving tests. I'm not sure what it's like in Germany, but I do know, for example, there's driving tests in the UK where you can pass your driving test in 1 week. It's called an intensive course.
No, you have no chance for
No?
that in Germany. No.
So in the UK, there's a thing where you just pay a little bit more. You do, like, literally every day for a week. You go to a driving instructor and you're driving for like 3 or 4 hours a day. And then by the end of the week, you then take your test. So that's possible. And you can do that. You can speed up your process with everything if you put that much more effort in and you do it well. Because you can turn up to the gym and do 3 hours in the gym. But if between every set you're on your phone for 10, 15 minutes, you're not at the gym for 3 hours. You're just wasting time.
Yeah.
So it's practicing right and enough times and regularly.
And coming back, journaling is a perfect way to practice self-love, in my opinion. If you pick a right journal or a journal that's focused on self-love, but I think many journals are or have a section in it where it's about self-love and, hey, appreciate what you did today. Yeah, give yourself some appreciation about your achievements today, last week, this month. Many journals are about that. The 6-minute journal is a good example for that. And I think journaling is just a good way to practice. Do you know any other ways, like besides meditating, I guess?
I mean, there's sort of like, there's only really 2 things you can do. 1, gather information, and 2, put it into practice. So I'd say, like, gathering information would be watching videos, reading books, speaking to mentors, having coaches, having therapists, all that kind of stuff. But then the second step is really putting it into practice, because you could spend £100,000 on coaches and books and all these things and courses.
Yeah.
If you don't actively practice the stuff, then you're just wasting your money. So
we're going back to the gym
really
example. You can hire a coach. We're coming back to the gym example.
Mm-hmm.
You can hire a coach, but if you never go to the gym, it's, okay.
Yeah, they're going to be like, okay, fine, I'll take the money. If you're not turning up, that's your problem. And they're entitled to do that, more than entitled to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Max, coming back to how your turnaround worked, or when was the time when you, when we just talked about you sleep talked with your sister? Was this the first time you get into touch with hypnosis? Or?
No, this was actually before I even did hypnosis.
Okay.
When I studied hypnosis, I figured out why that's possible.
And you remembered.
And I remembered, because it was a funny story. Yeah. It was a funny story. So it was one of those things that I remembered. And so are you kind of asking like how I got into hypnosis?
Yeah.
So I actually had a mentor once speak to me, and I went to my gym and I met this guy, super successful in business, and we would always speak in the mornings in the gym, in the spa. And he was basically like, do you want me to be harsh with it? And do you want me to just say it as it is? And I was like, yeah, like, tell me, like, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? All of this, like, I'm always open. And he basically said, like, why should I trust you to help me? And I was like, well, because I know what I'm talking about. And he's like, well, how do I know that? And although I'm actually a bigger believer in you're living proof, at the time I did agree, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. He wanted me to go to university and get a degree, and I was like, I just don't want to go to university. I just don't like the traditional way of schooling. It's just my personal opinion. Not that it's bad, it's just not right for me, definitely.
It's not for everybody. So
at all, exactly. So I said, I'm going to figure this out my way. And then I came across NLP, which then in NLP, they have a part about hypnosis, and I found hypnosis, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is amazing. I need to do this. I need to learn this. And I got so excited with it that in a very short period of time, I went through a bunch of courses. Then I ended up making some money, and then I hired a coach to work with one-to-one who was a hypnotherapist. So I didn't start with the most extravagant courses. I started with what I could afford, and I didn't have much money back then. I really didn't. I'm pretty sure I asked for one of the courses for my birthday because I didn't have any money, and my mum bought it for me for my birthday. So that was my birthday present, was my career effectively. And
a good present. Hey.
Exactly. And that's the thing. That's how I know that I'm already a successful person, but I'm always going to be a successful person, because for me, I could have asked for a new pair of trainers. I could have asked for this. I could have asked. But for me, it was and still is more important. I think even last year for my birthday, my mum bought me a social media course, like to work with someone one-to-one. She was like, what do you want? And I was like, honestly, I don't really want anything. Awesome. And then she's like, look, let me get you something for your business. I was like, all right. I was like, but you got to let it go through me, because then I can get the invoice and I can write it off as a tax expense. But I was like, that's all I really am focused on. Like everything else, like, I don't need anything. Do you know what I mean? I literally live here in Mexico. The only things that I really have is one suitcase, and I bought a few things here like bedding and pillows, and like I've got a whiteboard and stuff like that. But all I really own here is a suitcase. And that works for me. That's all I need. Because my main focus is being able to build a life that I don't need to move my stuff around, or I can just leave stuff here. And if I want to go to the UK, I can just go there. That's really my goal. It's a financial thing right now. Like everything in my life is perfect. Everything. Apart from the financials. That's what I'm working on right now. And I'm a big believer in so for example, when I was on my healing journey, I didn't worry about money. I didn't worry about relationships. I worried about my healing journey. When I was on my spiritual journey, I didn't worry about money. I didn't worry about that. I focused on my spiritual journey. When I was on my health journey, and this is only recently, I've actually got into such good shape that I've gone back to the financial stuff, because now that's in a great place, and I'm excited every day to turn up to the gym. So now the last piece of the puzzle is back to the financials. And it's like, the way I imagine it, it's like sort of like spinning plates. You're always just going back and picking up another plate and just spinning that plate again, spinning that plate. And you've got to just keep spinning them and keep the momentum going. And eventually you just get into a good rhythm.
Yeah, true. Max, what is the thing when you think about your your job, your profession as a hypnotherapist, what is the thing that gives you the most joy or makes you happy the most?
If I'm being honest, making videos. I love making videos. I truly, truly love making videos. Like, I'm actually doing a video right now where I'm teaching one of my friends how to hypnotize people online, just to prove that anyone can do it. And I'm making, like, I've spent about 2 weeks on the first minute of the video because I want it to be captivating. I want it to be engaging. I want people to feel entertained, but at the same time learn something. That's really my goal. So making videos and just getting people to see that change is possible, basically, through my videos. That's sort of like my favorite thing. But then at the same time, I do love hypnotizing people as well. I find it such a fun thing to do.
How hard is it to learn? If you say everybody can do it, does it take a 4 weeks course training, or is it like the driving license in the UK?
It's like the driving license. Like, I personally learned basic hypnosis in a month, but I stopped working and I was studying pretty much 8 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
So
that's committed.
Effectively, anyone can learn it. You just need to put the hours in. So think about it like, I know yoga courses, they do like a 200-hour yoga practitioner course. When I think about it, in those 30 days, I did over 200 hours. Like, when I actually add it up. Now, bearing in mind, I probably didn't do exactly 8 hours every single day. I was just going for a ballpark figure. I think it ended up being about 240 hours. But I could have done that 240 hours in a year. I could have done it in 2 years. It's depending on how much effort you put in and how willing you are to go with it. And because how interesting I found hypnosis, for me, it was like, this has to be done today. Yeah. This has to be done yesterday. How can I do that? Go all in today. And I put everything down. And I'm not even a massive reader. I prefer audiobooks. But I was reading through this course every single day. And I still, even to this day, think, I don't know how I did that, because that was a lot of words that I read in 30 days. And I'm not usually like that.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Parkinson law. I think it's called Parkinson law, where you say, if you give your goal more time, you will need more time. If you give your goal less time, you will need less time. You can finish your goal in a month, but if you set your goal in 3 months, you will finish in 3 months, but you will do all the work in the last month, most likely.
Exactly.
As a Parkinson's law. So people get short-term goals, yeah? Get ambitious.
Exactly. But that's the thing, like, the way I looked at it, it wasn't about doing it the quickest. It was just about showing up every day. Like, it was, the goal was to show up and read, show up and learn, show up and study. So that was really the goal. And because
it's like the War of Art, or?
Say again?
Did you read The War of Art, the book by Stephen Pressfield?
The War of Art?
The War of Art, not The Art of War, but The War of Art, where he is describing the muse that comes to writers. And the most important thing is that you show up every day. And the muse will come to you. The muse will come to you when you show up every day, and when you put in the work, when you push yourself to do things every day, sit down, start typing, the muse will come to you eventually.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing, is it really is about showing up. And you don't even have to be great when you first show up. You really don't. You just have to be willing to show up.
You won't be.
No, yeah, exactly. You actually won't.
Yeah.
I remember, so my buddy was telling me, my business partner, it's called the white belt mentality. Like, I just said, I've always said it like going in as an amateur and like, know you're going to be an amateur. But he said the white belt mentality. I was like, I like that. Go in knowing that you're going to be a white belt. And if like anyone's familiar with MMA, like any mixed martial arts, like taekwondo or karate and stuff like that, you start at a white belt. And that's not a bad thing. Every black belt once was a white belt. Every green belt once was a white belt. Every hypnotist once knew nothing about hypnosis. Every content creator once knew nothing about content. Every parent once knew nothing about parenting.
It's the way of things.
It's the way of life.
Yeah. Max, we are talking about nearly 45 minutes now.
Serious.
What would you tell the people? What would you recommend a book? Which book would you recommend for the...
Well, of course, I'm always going to recommend this book. course, I'm always going to recommend Kintsugi for the Mind.
Yes, I thought so. Awesome. Who's the author?
Who's the author?
Yeah, of this book.
This guy. No, the whole premise of it was manifest your perfect life despite a painful past, and one of the chapters is called "You Can Create." Where is it? Proof that a broken past can lead to a beautiful future. So whatever you've been through in the past, you can make those changes. And I gave a lot of examples in that. And one of the examples is Robert Downey Jr., if anyone knows who that is, Iron Man from all the Avengers films.
I think everybody knows.
I hope so. He's my favorite. He was in prison when he was 20-something.
Oh, wow.
He was addicted to heroin. He was addicted to drugs. And now he's Robert Downey Jr., who everyone knows as Iron Man, who everyone knows as all these different roles that he's played. I always see him as Iron Man. I love Avengers films. But it doesn't matter what you have been through. It doesn't matter what you've done. I've done some awful things in my past. I just have. I know I have. I was an awful person in the past. But just because I've done that doesn't mean I can't change. So I'm a big believer that every single person can change, but not every single person will change.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Definitely.
Who would you like to have?
I was also going to say, I also think another book, that's a simple book that really helped me with the mentality of things was Think and Grow Rich, realizing that your thoughts are really something. And from your thoughts, you can create something. It doesn't even necessarily mean rich in wealth, in money, rich in life, rich in friends. And how you think about things really has an impact.
Yeah, I know the book too. Yeah, I liked it. Who would you like to listen to on this podcast, Max? If you could invite anyone you've met or who inspired you or motivated you, who would you like to invite on
anyone
this hot
I've
seat?
met? Oh my. Well, if it could be anyone, if I'm being honest, it would be Joe Dispenza. I love that man.
Yeah?
He is a absolute genius. Absolute genius. I love his work. I followed his work, and a lot of my meditation stuff is based on his work. So it's incredible.
Nice. Max, it was a pleasure talking to you. I would say make yourself comfortable here and tell the people where they can find you, where they can buy your book, where they can get a hold of you, and we will wrap this thing up afterwards.
Of course. So to find me anywhere, you can just type in Max Hindle, Hindle. You can search me on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Google. You'll be able to find me. And then if you want my book, you can search it on Google, Max Hindle or Kintsugi for the Mind, and it will come up. And if you go on my website, www.maxhindle.com, you can get a link to my book. You can get my free meditation challenge. You can work one-to-one with me. You can schedule in a call. You can speak to me, and we can really make impacts in your life. And like I said, with my new project that I'm doing is called The Mind for Warriors. And it's about making men men. So our tagline is we help men build a monk-like mind and a warrior-like body. I focus on the mind, and my business partner is a personal trainer and nutritionist. He focuses on the body. So we're getting that mind-body connection. We're making men men again.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Max, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and you are a real inspiration to the world.
Appreciate it, my man. I really appreciate your time and your energy. You've got great energy, Luca.
Thank you very much. Guys, thank you for listening again. Get a hold of Max and see you next week. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in again. I hope you had a good time. Please check out Spotify and leave a 5-star review if you really enjoyed it and enjoyed the podcast. It's a no cost at all action that you can do in a few seconds, and you put a big smile on my face. Also check out Instagram and inspirierendanders.com to subscribe to the newsletter who comes out monthly, so you stay tuned and get some more information also in English about my guests. And go to Patreon and make a small donation. Thank you again for tuning in, and see you next time.